So that we've built the basics of the model, we're now at a stage that we can start to detail what we've drawn. So any kind of junction between a floor, a wall, roofs, and so on, we can start to detail at a scale of 1 to 5, 1 to 10. But again, as we're working with one single model, we don't need to redraw where our floor and wall intersect. We can simply pull that information out of the model to work on. So what we're going to be using is something called a call out. You can either use the call out in a plan view or a section. And what we'll be using today, we'll be using the call out on a section view. So if you want to come down to the bottom right-hand corner of the building, place the section view through the building like so. Once we place the view, we'll double click on the beak. And what we're going to be adding detail to is this section here. So where our floor intersects our external wall. I'm going to also be adding some detail to the window head. So how we can place our call out view, we'll go to our View tab at the top. And here in the Create panel, there's our call out. So we have two different options here. We have the rectangle. We also have sketch, so we can sketch a unique shape for our call out. What we'll be doing today, we'll just be using the rectangle. So we'll sketch the rectangle like I've drawn, and there's our call out bubble. So what I want to do is just bring the call out bubble over to the left-hand side. So just clicking on the grip, just click and drag over to the other side. The grip in the center allows me to add a landing to the call out bubble. So that there is an actual view in itself. If you come down to our project browser, under our sections heading, there's our section 1 that we placed on the ground floor plan in the bottom right-hand corner. And there's our section 1 call out. So double tap that will bring us into our call out view. So the first thing we need to do is just change the scale. We don't want our scale to be at 1 to 50. But we're going to add to say 1 to 10. Next, we go to our detail level. We'll change it over to fine. So we can see the different patterns of the different elements. Now, how we can add detail to this view. If we now go back to the Annotate tab at the top, we have our very own detail panel. In this detail panel, will allow us to draw in this 2D view. So we'll be able to draw lines, hatching, these components here that will bring us into the library where we can select 2D components. So they're no longer a 3D component, they're now a 2D component. We can add in revision clouds. With the revision cloud, when we will place a revision cloud on a point at which we've made a change to the drawing. So when we place a revision cloud, we can add information to the actual revision cloud, which will then appear on the revision box on our sheet. A detail group, what that is we can get multiple components, singular components, and group them together, similar to like a block in CAD. So they're together as a group that we can move around. And insulation, we can add in our insulation. So with the detail line, we'll cover that in a few moments. There's a bit more information that we need to do before we can use the detail line. What we're going to do to get started, we're going to go to masking region will be our first tool that we're going to use. So under region, hit the side arrow, and there's our masking region. So when we open it up again, because we're creating a boundary, we've got the red X green tick. There's our draw panel and our options bar. What we're going to do with this masking region is we're simply going to mask out the hatching behind so it doesn't appear. And I can do that using my rectangle tool. So I'm just going to go over the hatching. And as you notice, I'm going above the crop view, but that doesn't matter because if I do go above it, it won't be visible. I'll just move it out to be in line. And same with the other side. So first thing you'll notice is the lines are actually black, they're not pink. So if they're black, I can have multiple lines that aren't connected in the same action. So now I green tick to finish. What I've done is I've masked the information behind it. So as well as region, masking region, we have a filled region, which is just like in CAD is our hatching. So again, once we enter it, we've got the green tick, red X, our draw panel, our options bar. So what I'm going to do is use my rectangle again to draw over the concrete slab. Green tick to finish. And there it gives me a crosshatch fill. So I can select that, go to my type selector, and I'm able to change it through different types. What I'll do is I'll just make it a solid black. So all I did was I selected the hatch, went to the type selector, and I changed it to a solid black. So now that we've masked out the hatching behind, we've added a hatch over the concrete slab. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to add in components like our brickwork. So we're going to add in brick and run it up the building, and same with the blockwork. But instead of us bringing in one brick and copying it up through the building, what we can do is we can use a repeating detail component. By default, the brickwork will be selected, and also make sure that it is a section brickwork, because we also have a plan brickwork. So obviously in plan view, we'll use the plan. So there's our section brickwork. In the draw panel, just the two different ways that we can place the brick. Next one is attached to the top of the window head and run it right up the building. Again, just clicking outside of the crop view, because again, it won't be seen, so it's not important. And that there's our repeating brick. So we'll do the same for the blockwork. So it's blockwork 100 millimeters. And that's our blockwork. So now that we've used the repeating component, we can now just go to a detail component, which is just the single elements. So we then go to our type selector. We can see a few different components we can choose from. So basically, what I'm going to use there is the wall tie, so detail item, wall tie section. Pull it out and just place it between the brick and the block. And then again, I'm going to copy it up. Like so. As well, other components that we can use if they're not in the type selector. We go to our load family. Once we're in the library, we'll go to detail items. And in here, this is all of the 2D details that we can choose from. So the one I'm going to go in to choose from is in the F masonry folder. I'm going to F30. And there's lintels. I'm going to choose the open back steel lintel. And here we have a menu to choose the type of lintel that we want to bring in. So we have the different columns there. There's our inner leaf width, cavity, and the external toe length, as well as the depth. So our inner leaf width is 100 millimeters, and our cavity is 95. So we'll scroll down because now we're on 48. So if we come down, 88 will do. So we come up to 188. And we can choose the 140. So the one I'm going to use today is the CG90 100 by 140. So the inner leaf 100, cavity width 88, external toe at 95, depth of 140. Press OK, and I can drop it into place. And what to say, and then again, just using my arrow keys to adjust its position. As well, what I'm going to look for is a window head section. So I'll go back into the component, load family, detail items, L for Windows, L10. And third one down, we have detail items, fixed window head section. Open and place. As well, if we go back to the component load family, detail items, if you go to K, linings, sheet themes, dry partitioning, K10, and in there we have the gypsum sheeting section. Open, and we'll choose the 12.5, press OK. Like so. So there we can place it over the existing plasterboard that's there. So as well with the seating here, we can go to, again, back into component. We have a seating tie with seating board. So there's our suspended seating section. So we have a suspended seating section. The ties are a bit too long, so we just have to go to select it, edit the type, go to suspension cable length. So if we reduce it down to 135, and as well, we can go get some seating board. So open, here's the 19 by 600 by 600, and we can place it in. So there's a lot of different detail items in there in the component section. It's just a case of going through it one day and seeing what's in there. So next we'll look over the installation. We have our draw panel, how we can draw it. In the options bar, this is where we can specify what installation we're going to insert. So at the moment we've only got 45 millimeters of installation. We don't want it to be chained or have an offset. We will change the location line to near side and zoom in to this point and just again run up through the building. So next we'll look at the detail line. So back at the detail panel, we have detail line. So this is where we can draw detail lines. So it's just basic lines. This cannot be used in the 2D view. If you wanted to draw something in a 3D view, you'd have to use what's called a model line. So when drawing a model line, we have the same draw panel. We have our options bar to make some adjustments. We also have the line style panel. So when there's our different types of line styles, same if you're familiar with CAD, it's the same types there. So we got dash dot, dot, dashed, and so on. So the lines is just our normal thickness lines. We have medium, line, thin, and wide. So if you wanted to create your own line styles, we've got to go to the Manage tab. In the Manage tab, we have additional settings. In here's where you can alter the patterns, different line weights, line patterns. You can change the color tags and so on. So this is where you'll change those certain aspects. What we're going to look at now is the line styles. And right now we just have one category, which is line. So if you want to expand that, there's all of our different line styles. We want to create a new one. So we're going to select new in the bottom right hand corner. And this one we're going to call DPM for damp proof membrane. And press OK. So now we've created a new line. Now specify the line projection, which is just its thickness, its line color, and its line pattern. So 1 is the thinnest, and we can go up as far as 16. So for this line, we're going to have a line style of 4. The color itself, it'll bring up just the index color. Again, if you're familiar with CAD, it's the same setup. There we can just select red. And next is the line pattern. So again, select solid at the arrow. There's our different types of line patterns. So the one we want to use is the dash. So we've got a new line style. We have DPM, line projection of 4, line color red, line pattern dash. Press apply, press OK. So then we go back to our textual tab where we've started to draw our line. We can now go to the line styles, and there is our DPM. So I'm going to draw one in just above the lintel. I'm going to tuck it in there into the mortar. So it's the same thickness as all of the other lines. The reason being is because our thin lines is turned on. So if we turn thin lines off, so I think it's best to always leave thin lines turned on just so everything you can see everything a bit more clearly. So now that we've added some detail to our callout, next stage is to use our text to label it up. So to add text to our detail, we'll go to our text panel, which is just beside the detail panel. Whenever we select text, we'll open up our contextual tab. The different panels we have here, first off, is just how we'll place it. So we'll have no leader attached to it at all. Here we can place a straight single leader. We have a curved leader, and so on. And there is our justification of the actual leader, justification of the text, and here we can check our spelling and find or replace a piece of text. In the properties palette there, in the type selector, there's our different text styles. So the text style I want you to use today is the 2.5mm Arial text style. So to start with the text, we'll just click on the screen. And what that does, it will open up the text editor. So in there, we have to click copy paste, change it to bold, italic, underline. We can do subscript, superscript, change the casing from upper to lower. So we can add in bullet points and so on. And then finally at the end is where we'll close. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to add in some text. So if we say 1.3mm rec. And now that we've added in the text, if I then reselect the text, what I can do now is I can add leaders to it. So once the text is selected in the leader panel there, I can just click on the plus symbol. You can see I can add in multiple different leaders. Again, hitting the negative symbol beside that just removes the last leader. Once the leader is placed, if you move the arrow into position, then the middle one would add the landing. We have a rotate option there, so we can rotate the text around. And we can move the text as well. We can change where the leader hits the text. So if we have multiple bits of text, here we can change where the leader hits the text. So what I'm going to do now is going to add multiple text and leaders to start to detail this drawing. Instead of using the text tool again, I'm simply going to copy out the previous one and copy it down. Then double tap on the new text and start to label. So I got 50mm cavity. And then we have it labeled like this. So then just to continue on tidying up the detail, what I'm going to do is import another component from the family. from the library. So I'm going to go to detail items. Well, this I'm going to go to annotations. In the annotations, there's a break line. So now if I place it just above, you'll notice that the break line has a masking region behind it that you can extend to remove any information. So I can then copy it over. We're now going to start to place dimensions around the building. So the location of the dimensions are in the Annotate tab, the first panel there, the Dimensions panel. As well, you can go Quick Access at the top and just select Aligned Dimensions. So just to run through them, we have Aligned, which is the first one. So the Aligned Dimension places a dimension between parallel references or multiple points. So this would be the best option to use when running around any object because it would align the dimension parallel to the model. If you wanted to get a linear dimension, so you'd have to say 0, 90, 180, 270 degrees, you'd then use your linear dimension. The angular goes between two angled lines. The radial dimension will give us the radius of a circle or arc or curve. Same with the diameter will give us the diameter. Arc length will give us the total length of an arc. The spot elevation will display the elevation of the selected point. Same with the spot coordinates. So on your plan, site plan, if you wanted to find out what coordinate the corner of a building was placed at, you'd use your spot coordinate. You can also use the spot slope to place the slope of your roof or slab, so on. Okay, to get us started, I'm going to choose the aligned dimension. So once you select one of the dimensions, you still have the choice to go back and change to a different dimension. Down here in the type selectors are different types of dimensions we can choose from. I'm going to stick with the diagonal 2.5 aerial. There in the options bar, we have a couple of options, which we'll go into a lot more detail in a few moments. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to dimension the grid line. So to give us a bit more room, what I'm going to do is extend the grid line itself. So we'll just select the grid line, select the open grid and just pull it back. Same with the left-hand side. So now we have more space to add dimensions. So now I'm going to go back, choose my align dimension. To get me started, first thing I'm going to select grid line 1. And I'm going to dimension between grid line 1 and grid line 2. So I'll select grid line 2. But what I want to do is continue on down through each of the grid lines. So I remain in the dimension tool and just click on each grid line to have them selected. So you can see they're all joined in the same run. So the next step is then to position the dimensions where you'd like them to be located. And then finally, to place them, you'll click away from everything on the screen. So if I was to add here, I'd add another dimension, same here. So just move the cursor away from anything else that's not selected and click. If I press enter, escape spacebar, it'll just undo everything I've done. So we're going to do the same again for the left-hand side. A, B, C, D, E, and F. Align them to where I want the dimensions to be and click to place. So that's kind of the basics of the dimension. For us to then go around the building itself and dimension each individual opening could take quite a long time, especially in a large project. So we're able to do a quicker way of dimensioning the building. To go back into the aligned dimension. In the options bar here, we have our drop-down menu. So first off, that's where we can select what we want to dimension. So do you want it to start from the wall center line, the face of the wall, the center of the core, or the face of the core? So what we want to do now is we want to go for our wall faces. So when I go to dimension, I get the face of the wall and the opening. And to the face of the wall. It'll take us quite a bit of time to do that. So I'm going to just select and delete that. So I go back into the align dimension, we have wall faces selected. And next to that, we have pick. So currently it's on individual references. So right now we're just selecting individual references each time. So if I hit the drop down arrow, we can choose entire walls. When that's selected, you see the options button here becomes highlighted so we can use it. And now we just got to define what references we want to select. Yes, we want all of the openings to be dimensioned, but not to the center. So we don't only go to the center of the windows and doors. We'll just go for the widths. Currently, we will just ignore the intersection from walls and grids because we don't want that to be included. So I'll press OK. Now I just have to click on the wall. It will automatically dimension the entire wall. And the only thing left for me to do is the same as we've done before. So position the dimension on where I want it to be, move the cursor away from anything so nothing can be selected, and click. I get at the wall beside, click on the wall, move the dimension on up. It will automatically snap to the other dimension on, move the cursor away from anything else, and click. So now we can run around the building doing exactly the same. There's one thing that you will notice when you do the entire walls. It skips over the curtain walls. So each one of the curtain walls is not included within the dimension run. So what we need to do is we need to go back and edit our dimension. So what we need to do is where we want our dimension to be included, we'll select the dimension run. By doing that in the contextual tab, we have the edit witness lines. So we can add and subtract dimensions. So if I select that, now touch to my cursor is the dimension. I then select the openings and they're added to the run. If you wanted to remove them, hold down Shift and click. So again, like all the others, if I press Escape or Enter, like so, it'll also remove the witness lines I've added. So what I need to do, place my witness lines, move the cursor away from the dimension one again, and click. So I can do the same for here. Move the cursor away and click. So the dimension themselves, you see we've got the extension line, the tick, the text. That itself is just simply a style. In the intermediate course, I show you how to create specific dimension styles. It's not something we cover in the intro course. So we are able to tidy it up so we can pull those extension lines up, change the font color and the tick as well. If there's any text that's unclear or if it's overlapping with another piece of text, you can select the text and there's a small grip underneath it. If you click and drag, pull it away, and there'll be a leader attached to the text.